Hello everyone, welcome back in the series of video where we are learning how to build APIs, right? Till last video we have successfully set up our database in our project and successfully fired our server, right? So it's time for us to create the first database schema, first schema in our database and start using, right, models, right? Uh, so we are going to follow MVC structure. That means we have uh, so the in MVC in B architecture, the M is stands for model. That means we are accessing our database. The model is basically our database, while the controller is. So let me just go to this and see. So right, so this is our consider this as a URL, right? Consider this as a URL. When you type this in your in your browser, or you go to this URL, right? So this is a route. This is mapped with certain set of actions which will be performing when you fire this up in your browser, when you navigate to this URL, and those work will be done by controllers, and those controllers will be returning something to the views that you see. This is called views, but we are designing API, so we don't need views here, right? So we do need these are called routes, and we need controllers here and models. All the database schema that we define is in our model, right? So this is basically the MVC architecture. So I've just already created a model and controllers and routes, right, for you guys. And we need product schema. I have already created a product schema in our database. So if you can see that I'm just requiring mongoose here. I've created a product schema using new mongoose.schema. It has a field and it has a quantity, right? So that means name is of type string, and I don't want to create a product. I want to register a product in my database without name, right? It must have an ID also, and that is supplied by that is handled by MongoDB, so that we can uniquely identify that particular object in our database, right? That particular product in our database, right? So I've created a product. I've registered that in my database by name product. I have registered product schema by name product in my database, and this is our product, right? I'm exporting it so that I can use it somewhere else, right? So I also tell I have also used I'm saying my app to use routes also, so that I can just configure. I can do something like this, right, something like that. So I want you guys to I just wanted to introduce you guys with the terms middlewares, right? So see, if you closely observe, we are just requiring everything that we need here, and here my server has been fired, right? So between that, whatever configuration, whatever thing that I want my servers should do or have, right, to do whatever work that I need to do, I can do using middlewares, right? And I can pass my app through a lot of middlewares which will be performing certain thing, and it just so when my control reaches to this, I have already configured a lot of things. I have already done a lot of things using middlewares, right? So that's the concept of middlewares, and it is one of the most important thing in the software development, or rather in web development, right? So that's the thing. Okay, so let's just directly jump into the coding of routes, right? So if you clearly observe that when you do this, I have already configured to acquire route with forward slash, right? So I need to just create this route, and when you and I need to map some work, right? So when user go to this route, I should be creating a product in my database, right? So that's the thing. And when user go to this route, I should be returning product, all the product that is there in my database, right? And when the user goes to this route, I should be updating my quantity with that for that particular product, and user is also giving me the ID for that product, of which product I need to update the quantity, right? And to delete this, I have to this is my route. So let's just set up this, right? So let's just set up index.js. So index.js is basically entry point for we consider it as an entry point. So this is basically, you can say, that kind of a naming convention that we follow, right? So if you see this index.js, this is our app entry point and this is our router entry point, right? So for that, first let me require express. So see, whenever I am acquiring express again in some other files, it do not create another instance of express, right? Explicitly, it just uses that particular instance that I have created earlier, right? So if I've created express, I have required express here, and if I'm acquiring here also, that doesn't mean it just created some other instance of express. It just uses this express only, right? So I just wanted you guys to be with that, to be clear with that fact, right? So let's just require it, and let me make a router, right? And I am using express router for that. Yes, right. So um so let me first export this module.export. That means I'm adding that in module so that I can use it somewhere else in my project, right? So let me first do this router, cool. So right, so if you clearly observe this thing, this API, right? So this is API, it has something like that, API v1. While what is v1 basically, I just wanted you guys to know about this. So v1 is basically the version, like it can be v1, v2, v3, v4. So this is the version of API, right? It might be possible that we do some changes, right? We update our application, we do some changes, so we make just rename our version to v2. But we want that those people who are using our v1, we want them to be keep using, because we don't want to end our services for version 1 directly. We just want to give it some time to our users so that they can upgrade, right? So to create the functionality for v2, I will be using my API will be something like v2, right? And it will be something like this. So, and there is one other version for my API named as v1. So this is the version of my API. This is the name convention that it is a API, right? And this is basically product, and this is create. So it says that it is the API for something related to product. So this is the naming convention, right? So first I need to say that I have to create it. So I have to create an API route for that, right? So API, I need to create version of that, which version this API is, right? So API also should have a entry point, and v1 also should have an entry point, right? So let me give this. So when I'm at route, I want to say that no, you have to use API, right? So how I can say that? I can say something like that. You have to use API, and for that you need to require this folder, right? We are done, right? We are done for that, for this, right? So let's just go to API entry point, copy paste this, and when I'm in API entry point, I need to say that we have to use a version v1, right? Version v1. So for that I will be saying v1. This is my v1, right? So if you clearly see that we have successfully created two thing, that these two thing, API and v1, right? We just need to create, now we need to create our product routes, right? So this is these two things we have created. So we will be completing our routes in the next videos. Okay, so till then, thank you so much. I hope you understand everything, right? So